Welcome to the Retail Navigator Podcast, where we're charting the course for retail growth. Join us as we bring together retail industry leaders, economic development professionals, and real estate investors to share the strategies driving success in today's retail landscape. We cover subjects like selection secrets, city incentives, and lease negotiation wins. This podcast is about navigating the insights that matter most to retail professionals and commercial real estate investors.
Hey everybody, Joseph Kazan here on your Retail Navigator Podcast, and today we have Kim from the EDC of the City of Mesquite. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joseph. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So Kim is one of the best EDC people I get to work with, and she's been with the City of Mesquite how long?
I've been with the City of Mesquite for 8 years.
So it's 2025 in case you watch this video a little bit later on. But in the last few years, the City of Mesquite have grown and have developed amazingly. And they have a lot of great staff, but I have to give a lot of credit to Kim on being the force behind bringing outside retailers and employees into town. So Kim, how about you give us 2-3 minutes rundown on you? What's your background? How did you get to be the Economic Development Director of Mesquite, and then talk a little bit about Mesquite and what you guys have been doing for the last few years.
Okay, I will. So I am a Dallas native. I grew up in Oak Cliff in southern Dallas County. I've lived on this side, on the east side, the Metroplex, for the last several decades. And so Mesquite is my tromping ground. I've worked in other cities, all in North Texas, but this is actually such a diverse economy in Mesquite. It's just so fun to be in economic development here. You've got residential, industrial, retail, every day, all day, and it's just really fun to have such a large and diverse city to work in. I love the vibe in the east side of Dallas.
Kim, tell us a little bit about what is the role of an economic development director in a city. Some of our guests might have seen a previous episode with an EDC manager, but some of them might not have. So what is important to you as an economic development manager, director, or as a department? What are you guys doing?
It's a very casual term, but it just really tells the truth. We are not tire. We have to know a whole lot about, or a little about a whole lot. We have to know a little bit about everything, because we've got to, when we see an opportunity or we get a question, we've got to know where to get that person or that developer the information, the most efficient way and the best way. So we have relationships with a wide array of people. So we like to be a one-stop place, whether you need to know about how to get a permit for a water line, or if your company needs workforce education, or you want to know the best restaurant to cater your next business event. We're a full-service operation, and the way that we are at our best is to be out there and know our communities and know our people, so that we know when we get those opportunities to make those connections and tie those knots, that we have that on the tip of our tongue.
That's great. I always help people describe economic development as they're the visionary. Economic development is the people that create the vision, the outline. This is where we want to see the city in 20 years, 30 years. And then they try to navigate a path toward there. And there's a lot of stakeholders that you have to bring with you to that path, to that navigation. Definitely planning and zoning, and definitely city council and city manager. Those are your main stakeholders, right?
So yes, and I would say, and of course, our economic development office in Mesquite is a city department, and so we're not an autonomous EDC like some others. But the vision for the city is very council driven. However, we like to help them. We like to pull out the rose-colored glasses and help them with the vision and be able to see beyond just the past, or see beyond the obstacles. I think a good example of that is our strategic plan. And we very intentionally made sure we had private sector people at the table, citizens, our board, and we also went and invited our developers and brokers and business owners. We had 125 stakeholders at the table, because the other thing of the beauty is if you can get more people on that same bus driving in the same direction, you can get a lot done in a community to achieve your vision.
Yeah, and somewhat continuity is part of your role as well, because city council
Yes.
might come and go, they might get elected, reelected or not, and then having that steady force that keeps the whole ship moving forward, even though some people get on the ship and off the ship, this is a big part of what economic development does.
That is very well said. That is exactly right. People do change, but when you put those visions and documents into place and you're working that plan, you're right. We can get it done regardless of the ebb and flow of who's working it. I like your bus analogy.
Awesome. We started working together a few years ago, and that was in one of those big events where you brought together the city council and brokers and developers and presented the city's plan. So tell us a little bit about these kind of events that you do and how they contribute to what you do.
They're really very important. And to be honest, over the last couple of years, I think our team has gotten better at really targeting the event to the target audience. Nobody has time to waste. So, like for today, we have an event at Ashley Furniture. We have a warehouse distribution and manufacturing plant here in Mesquite, and we invited other industry leaders, and Ashley shared their story. They took them on a tour. They get to see how things operate, because people can learn from each other. They can polish and refine their own processes and learning from seeing. And we know who is going to need this information, who is this going to be important for, and we invite them, and we have food, we have networking time, we talk about the individuals, we talk about leadership, and that creates that community, that collaborative community. Also, I have found personally that the more people know about someone or something, there's more capacity to care about it. And in a community like Mesquite, where we're very boots on the ground, work hard folks, there is not just money growing on trees on this side of the Metroplex. So we have to compensate for that with creativity and caring. We have to care.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And there are smaller communities that don't have big budgets and they have to find ways. And there's blue collar cities, and not everybody can be Frisco or Plano.
And
So
I'll be
that's
so bold
why,
to say that we don't want to be. We want to be Mesquite. We want to be the best Mesquite can be. We like our edginess and our diversity and the fact that anyone can feel comfortable here. We love it.
That's awesome. As our brokerage is specializing in retail, so I'm going to navigate the conversation a little bit towards retail. Every city, the very basics is jobs. Everybody needs jobs. Otherwise, you're a bedroom community. And if you're a bedroom community, the daytime employment is just not there. I know you guys have been working really hard to bring in manufacturing and big employers into town. Are there any big names you can share with us that came in the last few years into Mesquite and created jobs?
Yes. Job creation wise, the last few years, it's been like a tidal wave, to be honest. I think we are beneficiaries of Dallas-Fort Worth's pull, and we're right there next to Dallas. We are sandwiched in between the city of Dallas and the second fastest growing county in the entire country, Kaufman County. So we're beneficiaries of all that growth. It's what we do with it that's so important. We had a building, a 750,000 square foot building that sat vacant from 2006 to 2023. Canadian Solar found that building to be a perfect fit. They've hired 1,700 people, and they've doubled the size of the plant. That's one example. That's one of the 12 million square feet worth of industrial that's popped up in Mesquite in the last 5 years. But to your point, by adding those jobs, you've added all this new injection of energy, of talent. They have over 40 languages spoken across their company. So yes, and that company is using all these local small businesses. Their people are moving here. It all does trickle to retail. And I know we'll get to talking more retail, but General Dynamics opened here in a $500 million project. A company called Hexagon Purus, they make they assemble electric powered semi trucks. And then most recently was Hythium, and they brought in a clean energy assembly, a battery assembly. So we're seeing the jobs in manufacturing and what the country is doing in trying to onshore, bring manufacturing back to the U.S. or to the U.S. We are seeing that affect Mesquite at a very in your living room level, where people can get higher paying jobs, and our schools are having to teach more technical training for these companies. And one of the jobs of an EDC of our office is to make sure those companies and those educators know each other at the college and public school level. That's another thing that we do, is we try to make sure all that's connected. But that's the kind of things, an example of what's been going on the past few years.
That's absolutely fantastic. Every city that can bring more jobs and more employment, a city that is going to be successful. Because at the end of the day, a city, while it's a government, municipality kind of organization, there's still a need for property taxes, and there's a need for sales tax, and there's a need for all that money to come in order to pay for those services that a city needs, like fire and police and cleaning the streets and paving the sidewalks and so on. By bringing all those employers, it creates a cascade effect, which leads us obviously to retail. As an economic development person, what kind of emphasis or what kind of focus do you guys have on creating retail, whether it's national brand, attracting national brand retail, or just local retail? How do you guys try to encourage that? Because all those people that now have jobs, they want entertainment, and they want restaurants, and they want coffee shops, and they want shopping, all those experiences that retail provides.
So I will tell you how we do that and what we do. First, I'll put in a plug for this. I do hear sometimes people question why so many industrial buildings across all of Dallas-Fort Worth, and the Mesquite citizens too. But they really are, I'd say, the foundation. And you've got to have that foundation. And then that people that work there need places to live. And we've had tremendous residential growth. Most recently, one of our master plan communities is called Solterra, Texas, won the best master plan community in North Texas by an association. 3,400 homes in the middle of Mesquite. So then you saw yesterday in the Dallas Morning News that Walmart is building a new neighborhood market in Mesquite, right? And last year, HEB bought 26 acres in Mesquite. And so while the end consumer loves the retail, the restaurants, the grocery stores, the entertainment, you've got to have the foundational structure to get retailers' attention and to get them to come here. It is not coincidence that all of a sudden these retailers are popping up when we've had all this growth. That's how it works. I will say Mesquite has an advantage that in the late 1960s, someone thought to design and build Townie Small in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of somewhere now, but it was the middle of nowhere. And it opened in 1971. And the design was different. It was edgy, modern. Before that, we had Big Town Mall. It was the first air-conditioned indoor mall in the country. So Mesquite's had a lot of firsts, or a lot of big steps. The rodeo, a lot. We've had visionaries. Just every place has visionaries. We've had visionaries around for a while that laid the groundwork for us. And yes, after a certain amount of time, things need a facelift or a remodel. But the reason I bring that up is because we let that historical success be our selling point to try to attract new retail. Let me tell you a few stats that I bet people will be surprised. We have the number one target in Texas in sales, in the entire state of Texas.
Wow.
That super target with that large shopping center surrounding it's called Market East, sitting right across the street from Town East Mall. They feed off of each other. We run Placer AI reports. We know people are leaving the mall and going to Target, and people are leaving Target and going to the mall. And I think that whoever designed that way back when, that was brilliant. The mall attracts about a 1 hour drive time. So if you're coming in from a small town on the east side of Dallas, you can hit all those places at once. You can make a day of it. We have the number one Boot Barn in the United States, number one Ross in DFW, number two Cavender's, number one Chick-fil-A in Texas is on Town East Boulevard, and even Dollar Tree. We also have our Dillard's. So maybe Dollar Tree, okay, that's a discounter, right? But Dillard's is in the top 10% of sales for Dillard's nationwide. So that's great for the big brands, the big names. And it honestly is an easy sell. We used to call Town East Boulevard Broadway, because everybody wanted to be on Broadway. But that's how we sell retail in that area. I will say our team travels to trade shows. We go around the U.S. and in Texas and North Texas to trade shows, and we meet with people. I'd say one of the best pieces of advice I would have is to listen to your brokers. We meet with our current property owners at these trade shows. We don't just go looking for the new people, which we go looking for new brands and such. But we spend a lot of time listening. Who's left? Who's coming? What's going on? What are the pros and cons? What can we do to support you? And I think cities need to ask those questions.
Absolutely. And just to touch on that point again of what we talked about with the foundation being the industrial and the jobs. If I'm a bedroom community, if I don't have employment, I don't have all of that, then the guy that drives 20, 30 minutes out of town to work, he's eating lunch there. And by the time he gets back, he doesn't have the energy to go out or do anything else. If a woman needs to drive 40 minutes to downtown Dallas to work over there because she couldn't find anything in Mesquite that could work for her, then she's going to do shopping over there. She's going to go for a happy hour after work with her colleagues over there. So it neutralizes everything. But if I'm working in town, most of my spend dollars are going to be in town. And in return, every spend dollar in retail equals sales tax for the city. So cities really should be driving employment first and then build retail on top of it.
Yes, that is what works. It's not always the most popular with the citizens, but it works.
Yes.
And I think the younger generations, it seems like they're more comfortable with that ecosystem and everybody kind of living together. It's the generation that your house had to be in the suburbs and then you go into work. I think things are changing. I think priorities are changing. Time is so valuable.
Absolutely.
And we don't want to sit in a car and I know too, we have more choices about remote too. So if your job is from your home, you really have a lot of power to decide what community you want to be in and what kind of assets you want from living in that community.
Yeah, exactly. And to also be honest, industrial used to look a lot uglier.
It
And
does
the
look
new
better now.
industrial, it does look better,
Yes,
right? The tilt-up
yes,
concrete and all the prefab makes it look a lot better than the old rusty metal buildings that used to be around in the 70s and 80s. And so I think that's an easier transition too.
I agree. I agree. I think too, and I in my world in Mesquite, I see a lot of combining the office into the plant, into the manufacturing plant, into the warehouse distribution. And so you're right, the frontages now look more office. They've got great lighting, and cities are requiring better landscaping, and it looks a lot more inviting.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how do you go about a, let's say there's a piece of land in the city that looks vacant, right? So what do you go about? Who do you contact? How do you attract? Do you talk directly to retail brand? Do you talk to developers? Do you talk to brokers? It's like, what is your methodology? Because everybody's a little bit different.
We have a partnership approach with our landowners. We ask them, we'd like to market your property when we go to whichever trade show we go to. We'd like to meet with some end users. We do communicate with them on that, and we try really hard to respect and honor what it is they're looking for. And we sometimes we make those connections and foster those meetings. We get them talking. We also will go after brands and concepts directly. We'll send them a packet on the community, and then we have to, how do you say this? We have to be a little bit of Switzerland in that if someone calls and says, and that means be neutral for those people that don't know what that means, but if they want 5 to 10 acres, we're going to send the 5 to 10 acre tracts we have. We're not going to just cherry pick necessarily. It depends on the request. But we have certain areas of Mesquite that are designated to be, for example, over by the rodeo, we're trying to create an entertainment district. So there's land there owned by a developer. And so we're going to be going after concepts that are more entertainment oriented. So it depends too on the focus and vision of that specific district. So we customize it. And honestly, we just want to, if we can get them talking, if a business feels welcome, if a developer feels supported. And sometimes in our business, there's a lot of distrust.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, oh, the city's hard to work with, or oh, all developers they don't tell the truth, whatever. I won't say, but that distrust, we don't approach business like that here. And I think that comes from our leadership. That comes from our management in the city. We treat everyone like, we give customer service and we treat them like a partner until it needs to become otherwise.
Comes from the top, like you said. It's a combination of city council and the city manager. They have both sides have to be on the same page. And if everybody's on the page of growth, then working with the city is a lot easier. If city council is resisting growth and the city manager is trying to push, that city manager is usually going to resign within a couple of years after banging his head against the wall and not getting progress. And then the other way around, if the city manager is against growth and the city council wants growth, then they're going to fire him because he's creating resistance. So it's important that these two bodies are going to have an agreement of where they want to drive the city. But what I've seen is, you said that is half joke, but it's real. There are certain cities that developers don't want to get anywhere near because they've built that reputation of, I'm going to fight this. And I just spoke with a developer just last week. He said, yeah, that city, I'm about to sue them because it's hard. They don't let us develop. And no city should be in that place. That's just my opinion. I know some cities are adamant about keeping the small town feel, but they can't quantify what a small town feel is. So it's really important to make sure that the city understands and the city council understand that what we said earlier, there's a price to pay for fire and EMS and city services. And if you're not going to have growth, if you're not going to bring more businesses that more sales tax will come in, it will have to come. There's only one other way to bring it, and is that by raising your property taxes. So do you want to be the politician that raised property taxes because you resisted growth? Go ahead. You're not going to be politician for long.
And I haven't seen a city that's just a retail mecca without all the other stuff that goes with it. It's just, you have to have the ecosystem. And there's one area of retail we didn't talk about. I talked about the town east and all, but I want to talk too about the entrepreneur, the person who wants to own their own shop. That takes delicate hand-holding. It takes personal service, a lot of one-on-one personal service. It's difficult for institutions to be able to monetize, to be able to afford to make that investment. So I think a lot of cities struggle with how to support small business. So we are very blessed in Mesquite that we have a little bit of historic fabric left in our original town, and we call it downtown Mesquite. A lot of people don't know Mesquite has a downtown, but we do, with buildings from probably the early 1900s. And we're a part of the National Main Street. So we're one of the few Main Street programs in North Texas. You have to qualify through the state of Texas. We have learned so much from the Main Street approach of how to do business, even at the industrial level, because the Main Street approach is volunteer driven and it's stakeholder driven. We literally went around the downtown and found 30 people who were willing to spend time on visioning out what they wanted to see in our downtown. And slowly but surely we're getting there. We've got a farmer's market, we've got public art, we've got live music, we've got a couple new restaurants, and it just keeps growing. And the coffee shop, of course, you have to have a coffee shop.
Of course.
But what we're doing is taking what we've learned from that Main Street approach, and we're going to start applying it to different areas of the city to grow small businesses. We're teaming up with our chamber. We don't do anything alone over here. We can't. You've got to have a team. We're putting together workshops, small business planning, how to write a business plan. We're going to have a local banker talk to people about how to get the money together, how to market in this digital age. But what we do is we cull from our local community the people who care, that are here, and we try to bring those services or that information to the community instead of, for an example, to get a business plan, the services that are provided through like a Dallas college, a person has to get in their car and drive downtown. So we are working with that center in downtown to come here every now and then. Then we promote and advertise, and we say, hey, you want to talk to someone about free business planning? They're going to be in Mesquite at the chamber office this day and time. Because it can be very intimidating for a small business dreamer to go drive to that big building in downtown Dallas and walk in this big institution. We want to make it at our customers' convenience and on their turf. So we're trying to put together some funding mechanisms too to rehab. You asked about properties. we want to, as a city, help rehab some buildings. And there are questions sometimes. How can you spend taxpayers' dollars on someone else's buildings? We have to go through certain criteria, and we do have to weigh and measure. Is this going to be a benefit to the whole community? And let me tell you, when you improve a building and a business can rent at a decent price and it's not a dump, I'll just say it,
Yeah.
when they can feel proud to be in that building, and we have engaged local small shopping center owners to work with us to prove this method, and it is working. We have an old shopping center down the street. It was getting single-digit rents. It had mold growing on the walls. What kind of a proprietor wants to be in there?
Yep.
So
And
we
there
did
is
it.
direct benefit to the city, right? Better looking building, successful business equals more sales tax. At the
That
end
is
of the day,
exactly
it comes
right.
back.
That is right. So we worked with that shopping center owner for an incentive to him, a tax break. That center is already worth 3 times what it was on the tax rolls. The rent has gone to double digits, but it's still in the teens, which is a very affordable rent nowadays. You also have to find the right partners. He's in it for that long haul. He's willing to ease into the higher rents. But it has brought, that center is full of people that started their own business. And so we love those success stories, and we try to try it on first, test it, and then we're moving forward though with doing it more on an individual basis, not just a shopping center basis.
Yeah, and I think the word you were missing when you described the work with the small business community is education. A lot
Yes.
of this new entrepreneurs, whether they're young or they're older, but it's the first venture into business, what they need the most is education.
Yes.
We live in this crazy world where everything we want is in the palm of our hands, on YouTube, on our phone. But there's so much information, you sometimes feel overwhelmed and you don't know where to start. So you know about the city, and the city tells you, hey, come, we can help you get started. And you and I talked about that in the past about helping run a class. So I'll be in Forney next month giving a class to small business owners about how to rent your first place. Because there's a lot of time where they know they need to rent a space for their business, but they don't know how. They don't know what questions to ask. They don't know what they can and cannot get. So we're going to run a class for them.
Guess what, Joseph? We were having a planning meeting last week for all the workshops we want to have, and that kind of class came up about real estate. And guess whose name came up to ask?
So I'm already
To
booked for Mesquite
Yeah,
as well. Absolutely. I'm happy to do that.
you're already booked. We'll follow up. We'll circle back on that. But
Absolutely.
I love
This is
knowing that
about,
Forney's doing
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, a city that encourages business is a city that's going to get more tax back, which means they can keep attracting more people. They can keep property taxes lower. And just across the Metroplex, the property tax ratio is very different. There's cities that were able to drop it all the way down to 1.6, 1.7. There's cities that are still in the 2.3%, which is very expensive. Again, a lot of people only see the first part. Oh, the city is spending taxpayer money on this thing. They don't see the cascade effect that eventually brings money back to the city, brings people into the city, and runs the circles of economy and basically just drive everything to success.
Agreed. Well said.
Which is why I said earlier that EDCs, the visionaries, they see the future, they see down the road and not just the next 200 feet.
Okay, so you started out this talk with asking about me and my background. I want to touch on what you just said. I live in a house that was built in 1941. And when my husband and I purchased it, it was dilapidated. It was sitting on the ground. I could see what it could be. And I think that's just part of my DNA. And getting into economic development, it's partly just you have to have the personality for seeing what something could be. And you also have to have a lot of patience with people, tons of patience. There are projects like the Canadian Solar building I told you. Canadian Solar's first visit was 2017. They signed the agreement in 2023. So there's no instant gratification. I always say that's why economic developers love to eat and drink, because that's the only instant gratification we get. But it is such a rewarding career. And I've seen the people that want to be engaged in economic development change drastically the last 10 years. So I encourage anyone that might be listening. It's a great career if you love real estate, sales, people, challenges. It's a really fun job. And I started it in 2007 as I guess, one of my lifetimes. It was my second or third lifetime. But it's great. You said the best thing when you said it starts with the leadership. If anyone is shopping for a community to work in, go listen to some city council meetings. You'll learn a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And planning and zoning committee.
Yes.
If there's anything that can kill a growth, is a planning and zoning committee.
Yes, you are right. We have a big zoning case coming up, in fact. Sometimes zoning is the hardest thing to get through on a project, honestly. It's the big turtle sometimes.
Yeah, but what I've learned with the zoning side of things is that a lot depends on how you present things and how you make the case. Because if you're just dropping a packet on the table and say, I want to change from this to that, then now you're at the mercy of whatever agenda the other side had. But if you show benefit, you help the city understand why we're doing this, where it's going, and what's the potential for the city from doing this change, or for the community, that's an even bigger impact, then the chances you'll get hit with a wall is smaller. Unfortunately, not small, just smaller.
That goes back to that vision. You've got to put things in pictures and quantify and show the economic value. And I just wanted you to know that, though, about my house, because that just continues with everything I look at in Mesquite. And sometimes it's a burden because you want so much more than you can make happen fast enough.
Yes.
That
patience is important.
Yes. But when you bring other people along with you on the vision, then you don't have to necessarily be there for it to happen. Because once they've got it, they've got it.
There is back to that continuity concept.
Yes. Get them on the bus. Get them on Joseph's bus.
Awesome. Kim, I want to be conscious of your time, and I want to be I'm very grateful for you to come on the show and sharing with us. You obviously have a passion for what you do and a passion for your town. So I really appreciate you coming on the show.
I love it. I can't wait to hear more of your podcast and appreciate your involvement in our community. Thank you for being a supporter.
Yes, ma'am. And for you, the listeners, if you want to watch more of that on YouTube or listen to other episodes, please subscribe. We're everywhere. We're on YouTube, Stitcher, Amazon Podcast, and iTunes Podcast. Just subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.